Hot breath.
Water. All right. Calling Mike V to the set.
Going to the set.
I heard someone in an interview call you Mike like Vecchione or something. You didn't even bother to correct him. You're just like, whatever. I'm in Omaha. This is.
My name's Butcher.
Oh, this is so adorable. Look at us.
Should I move that?
All right. You ready for this, sir?
Yeah, am I in frame? Yeah.
It looks like we're both there. All right, here we go.
Hot breath-averse. Welcome back to the Hot Breath Podcast. This is your weekly guide to comedy mastery. I am your host, comedian Joel Byars, and our guest today, not only a master of comedy writing, but also a master of the discipline it requires to become a professional comedian. This guy started comedy way back in 2000. With a master's in special ed, he was also teaching while pursuing stand-up comedy. 3 years into his comedy career, cashes in his retirement, moves to New York. The rest is history. His whole journey has taken him from doing, I believe it was bag puppet jokes to fill time, to now doing things like just Jay Leno, Comedy Central half-hour special, Jimmy Fallon, his own podcast, No Disrespect, and now the Hot Breath Podcast.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big. I really appreciate you doing your research, Joel.
Yeah,
for this,
yeah, Mike.
For this, and I feel like as you should. If can you dub Rocky music in the background of that?
Yeah, we can add that.
And then get me in a towel later, and then maybe doing some push-ups.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, well, welcome aboard. I know you like to work out, too, so thanks for taking
Yeah, I
the
worked out
time.
today, and then you were like, "Let's do this in the lobby." I'm like, "Why don't you just come up to the room?"
It's very romantic.
You know?
I
Yeah.
think the last person I had in a room, it may have been Andrew Schulz or Nick Griffin. We did in his
Wouldn't
hotel
trust
room
either
as
of
well.
those guys. Wouldn't trust either of them.
All New York hustlers.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you
Yes.
kind of cut your teeth, is in that gritty New York scene.
Well, what did those guys have to say? Because I'll go the exact opposite of everything that they said. Every ounce of advice they give, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah,
Work hard, write jokes. Don't work at all. It'll come to you when you get on stage.
That's your secret, the stage?
I do the opposite. I prepare jokes and try them.
Yeah, you're very
Yeah.
meticulous. That's why I'm
Yes.
such a fan of you, is because you are one of these craftsmen that is like particular, it seems, about word choice and the arc of a joke, and you're really mindful about like the craft behind stand up.
Right, because I don't want to go up there and I don't know. My thing is to go up there with a plan.
Okay.
And then put it on tape or evaluate it, and then try to keep working the joke until it comes.
So you
And then if it's not funny enough, like maybe lose it or come back to it. You know, it's all a process. But if it's not funny enough, like you can't keep it, even if you really like it. You know.
how many times will you try it before you have to scrap it?
If I really like it, I'll try it, and then I'll talk about it with somebody. I'll be like, look, I think this is funny. This is not working. And they'll be like, well, maybe adjust this or adjust that or try this or try that. And then I'll try it. And then chances are it'll probably work while making some adjustments to it. There's something funny there. Our instincts are very rarely wrong. There's like, there's something very funny here and it's not working. Then it's like, okay, you need to either set it up differently or something word positioning. It needs to be a little, or frame it in a different way. But, yeah, you need to keep working it. So you should never back off your instinct. If you're like, this is funny, and it's not working, then just keep working it.
I haven't heard someone say that before, where they'll try it on stage.
Oh, Andrew and Nick didn't cover that? Guess this is the best one, everybody.
This is already
and
the
then
best
you should
one.
Ignore the others.
Exactly. But then go back and like and
Then
subscribe.
Go back and like them. They're my dear friends,
all
both
that.
those guys.
And very
They're dear
talented,
friends,
both
and
of them.
They're unbelievable.
So when you're when a joke isn't working, you actually workshopping it off stage with someone in conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
Seems
I
like a
should
good
do it.
technique.
I should do that more than I do it. But yeah, that
One
it
of those
actually,
pieces of advice that's like, this does work, but I don't do it enough.
I don't do it enough.
Yeah.
The two things I don't do enough are listening to tape back and making the corrections, and the other thing I don't do is I do it, but I don't do it enough. Is talk it out with another comic.
Like off stage, you just
Off
conversationally.
stage, what do you think of
yeah.
this? And then they're like, what do you think of this? And then back and forth. It really does help.
So what do you normally do? How do you normally work out jokes?
I'll just for a while I was journaling because I felt like my act. I started to feel like a joke machine for a while. Like, oh, just joke, and nothing was that personal. And so I started journaling in order to correct that. Now, since then, I was like, okay, now I have deeply personal stuff that I'm trying to make a joke. So now it's like focus on tweaking it into a joke. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. So free writing in a journal is good to make things more personal, but also then minimizing it and working on the jokes is important too. Not getting too like big with just like a narrative. It's like, okay, some of this is getting some laughs, but it's not funny enough. Like, it's not funny enough. So it's like, okay, now I have to go back and look at each detail and see if I can get a joke out of each thing. So to really focus on it.
What do you mean not getting too big with the narrative?
Well, some people, like, the guys I really like, even if they're storytellers, like, they have it punched up all the way through.
Yeah.
Like, they're hitting, there's not this long setup and to a payoff. Like, it's punched up all the way through. So if you have a story like that and you like, oh, there's something good here, then it's about going back and then finding the jokes within the story. And then having to lose stuff if it's like, oh, this isn't good, this isn't working, this isn't funny enough. I think some people we hesitate to do that sometimes because we're like, no, this is fun. It's like, it's just not funny enough. I can't keep it, So it hurts to do that sometimes because you're like, no, this is funny. You'll fight yourself. You'll defend it. But at the end of the day, after enough times of it getting a soft laugh, you're like, this is not funny enough. And it's not necessary for the joke. I'm just used to saying it. You know what I mean? My mind is conditioned to saying it. And that's why I have this attachment to it. But it's not necessary, and it's not helping.
Do you find what can help with editing is to, revisit the premise of the joke? Like, okay, what am I trying to say here? And that can help you to kind of trim off those soft laughs?
It's not so much what you're trying to say. It's you know what you're trying to say, but it's like, is it working? Is it hitting? So maybe it's like, oh, maybe the punchline, this is too harsh. Maybe I need to frame it differently. Frame it in terms of like softening it, Like if you're going to tell a pedophile joke, I'm telling a pedophile joke. You soften it by saying pedophilia is not funny, guys, but jokes about pedophilia. Some jokes about pedophilia are funny, and I'm going to attempt that now. Or, you know what I mean? Like something like, I don't know, because it's a topic where if you just rip into it, people are going to be like, ah!
Right.
But if you, and they still might do that, but at least like you're framing it a little bit and softening it, but you're doing it in a funny, clever way where it's like you could still get into the joke and you're kind of bracing them for it a little bit,
When you're exploring a topic, do you have a percentage, over your years of experience, is there like a certain amount of jokes you have to try and then you 1 out of 20 you end up keeping, or is there like a...
It's something like that.
It's
like,
a lot.
Yeah, it's a ratio. It's like the more you throw, the higher percentage you're gonna keep.
Yeah.
That's just anything. That's just the way it is. Like the more you try and the more attempts that you make, the more success that you're gonna have.
And getting rid of the weaker jokes opens up slots for the stronger jokes to appear as well, I would say.
Yeah, and it's also there's a thing too, like I really want to talk about this. It's like, okay, well, if you really want to talk about it, you've got to find the jokes in there. You can't talk about something. I understand people really want to talk about stuff, but it's got to be strong enough to be in your act. Like, it can't be weak. Or maybe it can be, and then you work it into something strong. But you can't just leave it weak and go, yeah, this is what I want to talk about. It's like, yeah, this isn't a TED Talk, dude. This is
right.
You need laughs in there, and either talk about it effectively or get rid of it. I have doing that now. I have a bed bug. I'm trying to talk about bed bugs because I had them, and it really was a major influence on my life because it ruined It ruined me for a while.
That was like right when you moved to New York, wasn't it?
No, I was I had to give up my apartment. I was about 7 years into my neighborhood. I had to give up my apartment because of it, but I was attacked, and then I would get an exterminator would come and exterminate, and then I thought I was safe. I put everything back. You have to clean everything, push everything to the center of the room, wrap it in plastic. It's really a crazy process.
Do you still leave stuff in your bathtub when you're in hotels?
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing close to my bed. I have underwear laid out there where I'll sleep in that, and then I'll wrap it in plastic at the end of the trip and bring it home and wash it immediately. And won't take it out of plastic. It's made a profound, a profound effect on my life. So, well, anyway, my point is I have one good bed bug joke, and it's like I have other ideas for jokes, but nothing is strong enough to take right now. So it's like, okay, what's the next thing? It's like keep coming with it. But I could keep trying, but right now the reality of it is I only have one good joke.
So how do you start to add more jokes around a single topic? What's the process?
There's a lot of stuff that happened during that time. Exterminators coming, exterminators going, my relationship with my landlord, the bed bugs themselves attacking me, and the way that they procreate. It's called traumatic insemination. The male bed bug. It's really something. The male bed bug jams his penis into the female bed bug's stomach, and that's how he gets her pregnant. And she has a vagina. There's no reason he can't just have sex with her vagina, but he doesn't. He just puts it in her stomach. And then the
It's not funny.
No, that's not funny. And I'll tell you that's not even the worst thing. The worst thing is a male bed bug will penetrate another male bed bug's stomach and shoot his sperm into the other male bed bug. Then the other male bed bug will have sex with a female bed bug and get her pregnant with the rapist bed bug's sperm. So that's what I'm dealing with.
Wow, I know why it's so traumatic now.
It's traumatic insemination.
All those late night Google sessions learning that stuff.
It's crazy. They are not good insects. They're not good.
So to get back to the joke about this traumatic experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the exterminator, the bed bug dog, like these are all angles where it's like there's a joke here, there's a joke. You could see that there's jokes there. I just haven't uncovered them yet. So it's like a process, and the reality of it is I have one good joke. So it's like, okay, let's build from there. But I don't want to deceive myself. It's like I guess I could have 5 average jokes and one good joke, but that's not helping me at all.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I talked to Ian Edwards on here, and he was talking about growing a one-liner into like a fully functioning bit.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
His process is like doing a lot of research. So if he does have, like you just said, all those details about like the stomach and all that.
Right. Well, there's research, and it's also my personal experience. Flipping out. Like I was trying to meditate through this whole thing. It's like I just started meditation at the time. It's like that's and then you're getting bit, and then they attack one person out of an apartment full of people that they could attack, so you feel singled out. It's just there's a lot of material there. So I just haven't got it yet. So, but it's something. That's the process. You keep working. You keep asking questions, and then you might have something from left field that you can attach to. Oh, this has nothing. I didn't think this had anything to do with bed bugs, but it does. It has something to do with what I'm talking about. So then you can connect it.
Yeah, I'm starting to find that I've been doing this a little over 9 years, and I'm at a point where I've been. I mean, I'm a laugh whore. I want like laugh.
Right.
But it is at a point to where it's like, okay, they're laughing, but they're not connecting in terms of it's laughter, but it's not like memorable. They don't come up after. It's like, that's just like my dad or whatever.
Right.
So I'm now starting to be more mindful about injecting my personal experience into whatever it is. But
that takes longer.
Yeah.
Well, that's the maneuver I made from one album to the other album. The first album was like a joke. I need a joke here. I need a joke here. I need a joke on this topic. And the next album was like, no, this is going to be more personal, because that matters. That makes a difference.
The personal.
I think it does. You know what I mean? Like if somebody can connect to you, and you could take an experience that we all have, and you could make that funny. Feelings that we have basically the same feelings towards things. We all experience anger, happiness, love, and if you could take that and put it in different situations that we all experience and make it relatable, that's better than telling a joke that's just kind of a standalone, innocuous joke. Yeah.
It's probably how you build a fan base too, because they're more invested in you as a person as opposed to just like a talking funny man.
Right.
Or woman.
Or Yeah, like a joke
whatever.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling like a joke machine for a while. It's like, oh, you have this skill, it's good, it's good to have this skill, but it's like now there's no reason you can't take that skill and apply it in a more personal way.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes up a little bit of loosening up your process a little bit. Maybe you're free writing more than tweeting. You know what I mean? Like a podcast helped me because it helped me talk about some of these issues in a free way, and just to yammer on about them. And that actually does help.
Yeah,
I know guys who do a podcast and they cover topics on their podcast, and that's how they write, basically, by just doing the topics first on their podcast and then working those topics into the stage.
And it's more in your voice because it was kind of conceived in your
Right,
voice.
right. It's more of a loose. Whereas like writing a joke, just sitting down and writing a joke, which is what I used to do,
Yeah.
just sit down and turn out jokes. It's like it doesn't come off as organic. You could take the idea and then, if you play with it verbally, it helps.
But would you say it's important for comedians starting out to first understand how to create a joke, like sit down and create jokes, and then once you've accomplished that skill set, then you can start to apply it? But it seems like a lot of people are trying to microwave their material now in terms of like, I'll just get up there with attitude and I'll just get by. But it's like, there's got to be writing in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. When you're starting out, you're still trying to find your voice and still trying to find your way. So I won't criticize anybody trying to do that.
Of course.
But yeah, content is important, and we all, maybe the audience doesn't know, but we all know. The comics know. Anybody watching you knows who knows comedy. Mm-hmm. Even a comedy fan, the waitresses, people who see you all the time, they know all of our. They can see through all of our bullshit. So
right.
It's important to keep it to a minimal and try to have content. You're trying to go up there and with jokes, and you're trying to go up there and say something. You're not just going up there with attitude.
Yes.
I'm not. Some people do that. I don't happen to be a big fan of that. I happen to be more of a fan of what the person is actually saying, content-wise. Or do they have a skill set? We can all kind of tell each other's skill set on stage. You know what I mean? I can see somebody and be like, oh, that person has a high skill set, or that person is good. Like, it's like they're developing and they're good, but they have something. We can all kind of see that. So you want to be one of those people where it's like, and you can go up there with attitude, you can go up there with charisma and all that. So I'm not saying you, but it's better if you go up there with all that charisma and attitude and have content and a skill set of joke writing to go with it.
Yeah, and I don't think like this is how you should do stand-up. Some people start with the writing and then grow in the performing.
Right.
Some people start with the performing and then the writing. Like, I'm by no means like this is how you do it. But I have found I started out with one-liners, and that kind of helped me to start thinking funny and exercising my funny brain. Yeah. And now it's growing into more of like an organic delivery. Yeah. But that was just from personal experience.
Yeah, you're right about that, because some guys have like attitude and charisma, and then the jokes come second, and they grow into the jokes. Mm-hmm. And some guys are joke guys, and they have to grow into the performance aspect. I was a joke guy growing into a performance aspect of it. But I gotta say, like now, like even in my development now, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the performance aspect of it much more, because I'm starting to let it go and starting to have fun. So if you're going that route from jokes to performance, it's important to realize that this is supposed to be fun. Yes. And go out there, and you already have the jokes. So just go up there and have. I find if you're having fun with yourself up there, and you are playful with the audience, your joke writing will come off much better.
Watching you live this weekend, like when you're talking about you watch someone and you're like, oh, okay, there's a strong skill set they have. Like, this was a late show. It wasn't the best audience in terms of response, but one of my favorite things is to watch a strong comedian build an audience to them and not go out and grab them. Right. And you were so patient and so consistent and so persistent in your delivery, and you didn't falter, and you didn't break out of it and be like, well, right, guys, we're all here. Right. I mean, you just stuck to your rhythm, and you stuck to your material, and you just stayed in your pace. And over time, the audience almost just started to kind of like pulse to your beat. And then by the end, there's applause breaks. Yeah. Where at the beginning it was slow and steady,
Yeah.
and then it crescendos into, oh, you got him. That's skill, man.
Well, yeah, if you're not a named act, first of all, they don't, and it's not, it's just kind of like a scatterbrained audience like we had on The Late Show. They don't trust you, first of all, because they don't know you. So it's like you have to gain trust that you're funny. And then, yeah, I find with that crowd, that specific crowd, and there's a lot of crowds like that, you going out and doing, like, they'll derail you. If you give them too much power, they'll derail you. So, because a lot of them are not comedy fans. A lot of them are disinterested in what's happening. A lot of them are not going to get what you're doing anyway. But you still have to try. You can't shit on them too much and be like, "You're no good." It's no. I mean, maybe once to smack them into line, but after that, it's like you're not helping yourself any by downing them. It just because the people who are watching and listening, and there were some people in that crowd. It makes them feel like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? If this sucks, if this sucks. So it's like you just keep coming and you keep trying to bring them in, but you don't pander and you don't give them the power. Like you lead them, you lead them. And that's a thing that you learn from working audiences like that, audiences where it's like some people are comedy fans, some people are your fans, some people are comedy fans, and some people went out on a date night and got it completely wrong what they were signing up for. So you have to deal with all of that in a mix, and the way to do that is in that specific crowd was to keep beating your drum and do it in a positive way, but don't give them the power because they're the audience, they don't know. You know what I mean? Don't give them the power. Like lead them into what's funny.
What's your mindset at the beginning of that set when you do a couple jokes and it's kind of like, okay. Like, is it like, one of these, or it's like, no, I'm going to get them. Like, what is your mindset of like, okay, I'm going to have to go like 12 rounds on this?
Well, it helps because I watched the openers with them, and I watched them. The openers were very good. They're very good. They're good comics. So I was watching them respond to the openers, and I was like, okay, this is going to be an uphill fight. I know this is going to be tough. So I already know it going up. When it's a situation where it's a host and a feature and then me, I already can watch and know that it's going to be a dog fight. So that helps because it's like, okay, I know it's none of us, it's them, but be that as it may, I still have to go do my time. So I'm going to go, and there's a challenge to it too. It's like, I think I can, let me exercise that muscle and let me see if I can bring them in effectively. And, obviously I'm not going to, it's not going to be a standing ovation at the end, but I'm going to do the best I can to work them and work them and work them. And it just takes persistence over time. And that's the best way to deal with that audience. That's not an ideal situation, but it's a good skill set to have because I know guys who are really good joke writers, but that skill set has eluded them. I don't know, everybody comes up differently. So when you have people late and they're drunk and they're not listening to your great jokes and they can't appreciate your great jokes, you need another level of skill in order to like keep bringing them in and then keep hitting them with jokes and keep bringing them in and keep hitting them, keep like beating your own drum in that way. So
what do you mean like bringing them in terms, because you would almost have moments you're like, all right, 15 minutes in, we're getting there. Is that like a technique of like, I'm starting to bring them in? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. Like we're working, guys. It's great. We're gonna get, you know what I mean? Like talking to them, talking them into it, and you keep working them, and that way, because there's people who paid and are interested and are laughing, so you don't want to give the set over to the people who made a mistake by coming there or like are not comedy fans, you know what I mean? You're gonna lose them anyway, so it's might as well, like, it's fine, but you want to make sure the people who came to see you or came to see a comedy show and are into it get what they came for.
Yes.
If you just give it over to the dum-dums, then they hijack the show, and you're giving them the power to hijack the show, and the people who really came to see you are like, this is what you do in a live performance, and that's not totally your fault. You walked into a bad, not a bad situation, but a situation we all walk into, a tough situation, and but you have to handle it so that the people who came to see you are actually seeing what you do.
You mentioned that even after the show when we were talking is like I was impressed with how you like worked them in into your rhythm, and you even mentioned you're like, well, I knew like this couple here was into it, and then like over here, like you pointed out everyone that you had from the beginning,
Right.
and then from you just kept focusing on them almost, and it just kind of spread
Right.
through the audience.
And then the people who weren't, there were two women who weren't into it at all, and they were interrupting like the earlier acts, and they kind of like peeled off. Like one went to the bathroom for a long time, then the other one came, then the other one back, so they had no one to talk to, and that was because they kind of got disinterested in what was happening. And these ladies, there was a group of ladies in the middle who were disinterested. Also, I could see it in their faces. So they kind of went to the bathroom and came, like they lost interest in what was happening. And that's fine as long as they're not the disturbance. They lost complete interest because then it opens it up for the people who were really paying attention. There were people there who were paying attention and were way into it. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, it's good.
So when you're developing this skill, bombing is a huge part of this. And a question I ask every comedian on here is like an epic booze story or just a show they'll never forget that just went completely off the rails. So what is yours that you have?
It's not so much bombing. It's just a mistake. I've made the mistake before of being in that same situation, Friday night, and having those people attempt to hijack the show and catering to them because I didn't want an ugly confrontation, or I didn't want I didn't know how to do what I did Friday night. I wasn't experienced enough to do what I did. So I'm just looking for laughs. So I kind of like, they were willing to interject, so I would just go back and forth with them and let them hijack the show. And that's, so it's not bombing, but it's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mistake. So I've made that mistake before. And afterwards I'll be like, yeah, I shouldn't be letting that happen. You know, I shouldn't be letting them hijack the show and turning it into their thing, because I'm not a dancing monkey for them. So, but it's like, okay, how could I have done this better? How could I have done this differently? You know, when that happens again, how can I steer the show? And then if it comes to them getting thrown out, then they get thrown out. Then I'll, you know, once the awkwardness of them getting thrown out and they get thrown out, then I have to like reset and start again, and build back. And it'll probably be better if they're out, if they're out of the room. But it's not so much bombing. It's making the mistake of letting people who are not interested in the show hijack the show.
Yeah.
And then just to get out of there with you know, without bombing. So
Well, you've been doing this almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So what is you said?
I'm coming off the coffee. Yeah, I have.
That was the.
Anything else, Joel? If there's anything else, let me know.
That was the best reaction.
Drinking hotel coffee, Joel.
You've been doing this 20 years. Yeah, man. Thanks for the reminder.
Thanks, Joel.
Did you
coming,
what did
man.
you think? Where did you think your comedy career would be in 20 years?
I
Did you even have a
actually
vision?
thought I had a vision.
Okay.
I was going to move to New York, and I would either be a huge success and be rich, or I would bottom out and I would have to get a job. That's what I thought would happen. And I didn't never picture this weird in between phase where it's like you're working and you're making money, and it's been a period of, but that by no means happened overnight. That was years and years and years of climbing and scratching. But good things have happened. I've gotten TV credits and done stand up on TV and kept turning. But I just didn't know. I didn't see it. I thought it would be either success or failure. Success, I'm winning. Failure, I lost and I'll get out. That's what I thought it was going to be. But I didn't realize this in between phase where it's like you're going to have times where you're getting a lot and people are really high on you, and then other times where people want nothing to do with you. And it's got a lot to do with what Hollywood, like what the industry is looking for at the time, you know, and also your skill set, not just in stand-up, but like in other things, in acting and podcasting. It's like, how's your skill level, you know? But it has a lot to do also with what they're looking for at the time. But that shouldn't What I've learned is you just keep beating your, just like in the set, you
Uh-huh.
keep beating your drum, you keep coming, you keep looking for ways to improve yourself, and that will separate you from the pack.
Almost staying consistent in your career.
Consistent,
And-
but it's very easy. I think I've said this on other podcasts in a sarcastic way, but it's real. It's very easy to become, because the business is not fair.
Okay.
So it's very easy to like feel cheated and to get bitter and then to stop working the way that you should be working. So, and I understand it. I understand the feeling. But there's a thing where it's like you can't let that affect you. You can't let that overtake you. You can't let that dictate your daily practice. So even if nobody cares and nobody's going to give me anything and I'm in a gutter, like keep the practice, keep working, and figure out another way to rise. Oh, this network doesn't want to give it to me. This network doesn't want to give me anything. It's like, okay, not the end of the world. I'll do it this way. I'll try this network. I'll try this network. And if those networks don't want it, I'll put it on YouTube. I had that with my album. Like nobody wanted to give me a special, and I guess I could have shot a special myself. I've had friends who did that, and that was an option. But I'm like, no, I'm going to put it on a CD, and then I'll go around to my friends' podcasts, and I'll plug it and promote it, and I'll have all the material out. I'll have it all documented, and I won't go with a label. I'll go myself, and it worked out. It worked out great for me because now that is on Sirius XM, and it's being played. And not to mention the fact, the most important thing was that it's documented. I have it down. And now let's move on to the next thing. And you know what I mean? And so it's easy to it's easy to get bitter in those situations, but you have to stay strong and consistent and believe in what you're doing. You know, it's very hard sometimes though. It is very hard. So I understand it. I understand why people do get bitter and get angry.
And not to mention your album. I mean, it won Album of the Year for Sirius and Vulture.
Vulture,
for
yeah.
Album of the Year.
Yes.
And it's 90 minutes. By the
Yes.
way, it's this. This is a complete body of work.
Yeah.
What made you not want to go the special route and just do the audio? Was it to save money, or do you not see
Yeah.
enough upside to investing that?
No, the
as
upside
investing
was
in the
there. If
video?
I had to do it over, maybe I would have taped it. Maybe I would have taped it and then put it on YouTube.
Right.
And then released an album. I probably would have done that if I had to do it over. But I was like, where am I gonna sell this? What if nobody wants to buy it? What if I invest all this money and I don't break even? Like
The
but
what ifs.
The what ifs. But the most important thing is that besides the money end of it is aside from the money end, I should say, is that it gets exposure. Like people listen to it. I don't want to do a special that no one watches. So I think I did the right thing in terms of putting out an album because, you know, like a podcast, people can listen to it while they're doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to do it over, I would have brought in a film crew to, I would have hired my own, and I would have had it taped, and then I would have put it out on YouTube.
It's good
That's
to
what
know.
that's what I would have done different because the audio was good and the album has done well for me and people have listened to it. Anybody who's listened to it has been good feedback. But if I would have had the video to it, then I would have both things available and it would have been worth the money, I think.
It's just one more way for people to find you.
Right.
You know?
Right. And you know, and then there's the option now of like, I don't know how many people watch an hour anyway of somebody who's not famous. So you take the hour and you cut it up into clips and then you put that and you plug the clips. It's like, there's all these different strategies on how to get seen.
Well, that's
So-
the Andrew Schulz model.
Yeah. Andrew's
I mean,
great.
He's
great at
almost
doing that.
he pretty much paved the path for
Yep.
comics to
Yep.
just give it out like he modeled his after the music business where he's like, you just release a single, like release
Yeah.
hit singles, and that's
Yeah.
what he did with his jokes. And now
It's unbelievable, and it's I really, he's a friend of mine, and but I really like what he did. I like the fact that that's an example of a guy who was shut out of doing stand up on television.
Yeah.
and he was like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I know I have something good here, and he found another way. And there are other guys like that, and Andrew's like on the forefront of that. So I think all of us like admire that about him for sure. You know,
It's so interesting to be sitting here as a comedian with no credits, sitting here like really just trying to build my own success.
Right.
And a lot of us comedians, we see comedians like you, we're like, oh man, he has a half hour on Comedy Central. He's been on Jimmy Fallon and Conan. And he's done all this cool stuff. And you're still sitting here almost 20 years in. You're like, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm
like
still
at
trying to
every
figure it out.
level,
Yeah.
we think we're all of a sudden going to wake up one day and have it figured out. But at every level, we're all just still trying to figure it out.
I mean, you could have outer levels of success, like a huge high level of outer success where the world recognizes you and goes, you are like unbelievable. You're great. So you could have that. But yeah, at the end of the day, me personally, I'm still trying to improve and get better and figure it out. Yeah.
Are you working towards anything like specific? Are you big on goals? I know you have an athletic background, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to do more acting, and but I would like to do. I would like to write something other than stand up, whether it's a show or something. I would like to take the skill set I have and apply it to something else, whether it's a web series or a show. I would like to try that, and but I'm more excited about like I think I can just get better comedically. First album was good. It's mostly a joke-based album, and then the second album was, I think, better, more personal, and more jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can evolve. I can evolve to be better, and that's exciting to me. Taking the jokes and like my stage presence, getting better with my stage presence, and little things like slowing down or like setting the joke up in a funnier way, and while still writing personal.
That is something I've heard you say is you on stage, you focus on slowing down and smiling.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, just from watching watching my sets, it's like sometimes I'll just like commit to it and stay straight faced the entire time, and it's like it serves a purpose, but also like relaxing and laughing at your own. It's not a scripted thing where you're I would laugh here, I'm gonna enjoy here. It's like, but just going up with a certain mindset, like I'm gonna have fun, no matter what.
Ooh,
Like
okay.
I'm gonna have fun with these jokes and the way I'm framing stuff. I'm gonna have fun with it, So, but it's going up with that mindset. I used to go up with a mindset like I'm gonna get these jokes out. Will the crowd like? Will they not like me? I'm gonna win them over. I'm gonna win them over with these jokes. Now I don't have that mindset anymore. I go with the mindset like I'm gonna have fun. I have the jokes. I'm gonna work the jokes, and if you have fun, they'll have fun.
And are you telling yourself this pre-show? Are you running through in your mind? Okay, I'm gonna have fun with this. The audience is gonna have fun.
I'm not like that's part of it. It's like if you're doing that, if you're like I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna have fun. Like, it's part of like you're nullifying it by doing that. You're like it's just a general attitude towards But it's like I've been headlining long enough now to be like I know I have the time. I know that even if all my material was taken from me, I could crowd work my way into like the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like relaxing. The best times I have on stage is when I'm relaxing, I have new material, and I'm playing. You're being playful with it. So
Be playful.
I have a wrestling background, and I wasn't. I was good in high school, but I got beat up in college a lot. And
At Penn State, right?
Yeah, I went to Penn State.
Yeah, you're a legit wrestler.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I
no
wrestled there
joke,
for a
man.
year, but I learned they have a top program now, and I was asking one of my friends who's a coach what they're doing differently, because they're like the Iowa of the 80s now. They're like they win a national championship every year. They just keep putting out national championships. And I'm like, okay, it's interesting to me what they're doing different than maybe an Iowa or an Iowa State or an Oklahoma State. Like these are all top tier programs. So how does Penn State separate itself, or how do the New England Patriots separate themselves?
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that their practices are obviously intense and tough, but when they wrestle, like there's a certain playfulness in the way they'll wrestle. It's like not that they're not going hard, but they'll try different things. Like there's a looseness and a playfulness in how they're drilling and how they're going live, wrestling live, and that helps. It helps if you go in with the attitude. It's like, I'm just gonna let it go and be instead of this tense, like I'm gonna go in there and do. It's like it doesn't work as good if you're more playful and open to possibilities. In wrestling and I find it in stand up too. Like if you go up there loose but you've done your homework also. It's not like you're just going up there with your charisma and no jokes. Like you're going up there with your jokes, but you're going up there with the mindset. It's like, I'm going to be playful and I'm going to set this up this way. And then it's a better result. And you feel better about it afterwards.
And I almost find being open-minded on stage where, like, if a joke leads you somewhere, let it lead you there, and then you can come back to the rest of it. Or, like, be open to a flexibility.
Right.
And not just word for word. No, I've got to say this.
Right.
All right, they're laughing too long. I'll just step on it to get this tag out. Like it's almost being a little more fluid up there, I guess.
Right. Fluid and naturally you'll have more fun.
Which takes time as well. Like as a comedian starting out, you're like, I'll just go up and talk, but it's like it takes years of just living on stage to have the confidence and even the awareness to even listen to the audience and be like timing the laugh to like let it live and then kind of jump back in as it's coming back down. Like that all takes time to listen to. And it's fun to hear. I mean, 9 years in, I'm by no means a master. 20 years in, you're still like, I'm still
learning,
getting better and I'm still learning.
Still learning,
That's why I love comedy, man.
Yeah, it's a thing. But I think it's a thing in like any field. Like if it was like, it's like carpentry or any of this stuff. It's like you have a skill set, but you can always improve to become better, like in any field that you're in. And the politics of your field are probably much like the politics of this, which is like it's not fair and it can be discouraging. But as long as you keep developing your skill set, I find that's what's most important. You'll be successful. Like even if you're not a commercial success, people will be able to see you. That's the good thing about what we do. It's like people will be able to see you and be like, that's really good. That's even if it's like for a joke or something like that's very, very good. You know, people will be able to see it, even if you get no credit for it. So that's the beauty of it. No one can deny. Like, they can deny you, but they can't deny what's happening in the room. They can't deny it. So
yes,
you know,
it's a good way to build. Like everyone can build their own audience now as well.
That's true.
I
mean, yeah, a lot of things have opened up to where these gatekeepers don't have the power. Andrew Schulz is like he's a testament to that. He's a guy who went out and got his audience, and you can do that now. You know, that's not easy to do either. So, but that it's available. You know, it's available.
And I like you also. You're not only focused on getting better on stage, but you focus on getting better off stage. With like you exercise, you do meditation and breathing exercises. Like I feel like more comedians could benefit from not only the care on stage, but also off stage.
I find if I feel better,
yes,
I'll perform better. If I feel better, I'll write more effectively. Like I'll just, you know, if I feel like garbage and I'm not going to write as well. So part of it is just, I mean, it's good to live a healthy lifestyle anyway, but part of it is if I feel good, then everything else will fall. Like I'll write better. I'll be a better comic.
Just overall.
Yeah, overall, I'll be better, and your creativity goes up. Like if you feel better, your creativity will be better, and it'll flow. So it's, but if you feel like garbage all the time, and you know, I, at least that's the way I feel. Maybe some people are fueled by that, but I'm not. Like I'm a guy. Like if I feel good, my creativity gets ratcheted up. If I feel terrible, it kills it. So.
Oh yeah, I was just featuring in Chattanooga, and I went up. My wife went up with me. I don't even really drink that much, but we were out. I had a beer at noon that night. Both those shows were not great because I was just like there was just something off,
right.
And I told her I was like I'm gonna go and bomb tonight. And I didn't like bomb, but it's like I bombed for me. Like in our head, it was like every show's gone great. But
well, you can feel it too. It's like, oh, that made me sluggish.
Yes.
That didn't ruin me or anything. But it didn't help. It didn't add to anything that I was doing. So you learn that after a while too. It's like, oh, I'm not going to day drink then. Like if I have shows, like I'm not going to day drink if I'm working on if I'm working on something, and it's always good to go up. It's always good to go up with some kind of a plan.
Go up with a plan.
I want to work on this stuff. It doesn't have to be a hardcore this, then this, then this. It's like I'm gonna go up there with a plan. Like to work on. I'm gonna work on this, or even if you're not working on jokes, I'm gonna work on slowing down. I'm gonna work on enjoying myself more. It's like there's other things to work on.
Ooh, that's gold.
Gold.
You almost develop a skill like one at a time, where it is like, okay, I'm going to focus on slowing down this month, or I'm going to focus on standing still.
I don't do one at a time. I'm going to go up and have a good time, but I want to work on material. So I'm going to go up and have a good time, but I also would like to work on this material that's new and not totally formed yet. So I'm going to be playful with it. But as I'm doing that, I'm going to have fun with the crowd. I'm going to have fun. I can always bring it back to jokes if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go up and be playful and have fun.
Do you find remembering to breathe on stage helps with like slowing down and being more playful, like remembering?
Breathing, I find being in the moment helps.
Okay.
If you're not so much in your head and you have confidence, it's a confidence issue too, which I had poor confidence at the beginning. But it's to sit in the silences sometimes. Like I had a real issue with that first, which is why I was writing so intensely to try to make it so that everything is a laugh. And at the end of the day, that's good. But it's also, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's because of stage fright. Really, it's because I didn't have I couldn't sit in a silence. So, recognizing that, and then working on it between the but you're the one controlling it. It's not a silence that's not expected. You're leaving space, and then there's a silence, and then you get into the next thing. It's like you're orchestrating it. It's not just happening to you. But even if it is, it's like even if it does happen to you, then it's like standing strong in the moment and confidently moving forward.
That's something a lot of comics struggle with, especially early on, is standing in that silence.
And silence is tough.
Ugh, it's just
and some people have a great ability to do that, and some people don't. So it's something to work on, but it's not being afraid of it is important.
So even if you were to comics to help work on it, is it almost there is a silence and just stand in it even longer than maybe you think you should, just to get comfortable in that space? Like,
No, I mean it'll happen naturally.
Okay.
It'll happen naturally, but also like maybe you want the silence, like, or you create it and then go into another joke. But yeah, it helps to be in the moment. It helps to stay in the moment and not to panic. Some people have good poise in the moment, and some people don't. And but even if you don't, like, it's something to work on. You can work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't good in it, and I've worked on it. And now it's like I'm not as afraid of it, and I'll even create silences sometimes to have the next thing pop harder.
Oh, how will you do that?
Well, I mean, it just depends. It depends on how the flow is. It's like you'll say something right before the punchline. You'll take a small silence and then hit with the punchline, and it'll be a bigger pop than if you just ran it together.
Boom.
Yeah.
That little pause.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
not really sitting in a silence. It's more of a pause, but I guess
it builds
sometimes.
tension,
But
though.
sometimes you could be too nervous to take that pause. And it's controlling the tempo instead of letting it control you. It's really what I'm trying to say. I probably said it in a very muddled way, but that's really what you're trying to do.
It's all right, man. It was good.
I'm beating myself up now. This is over. Get it out of here.
Yeah, we're over. This is it. And the final thing I wanted to ask you is your most epic bomb story, or most epic. Have you ever been booed on stage before?
Yeah.
Or an epic.
Yeah.
What's an epic one?
There's a couple I have. My most recent one was at a private.
Oh gosh.
It was a private.
It's already.
It was for,
yeah.
It was for cops, but it was
Private.
sales for like, it was a company that sold bulletproof vests and holsters, like not guns but stuff for law enforcement officers, and my friend who booked it was trying to tell the guy who was in charge, look, they have to be seated and they have to be paying attention, and everybody has to be seated and paying attention. They can't be eating or getting drinks. And the guy was like, we're fine. He wasn't listening. And at the end, my buddy was like, okay, either I have to take this the way that he wants to do it, or just leave it. And there was money involved, obviously. So he did it, and he went up and struggled, and I went up and just. It's because I don't know if it was a bomb, but like there were some people. It was a high ceilings. It was in a club, so people were sitting in this circular thing. But everybody was at the bar having drinks. He didn't stop anything. So my jokes were just going, and some people would laugh, but I couldn't hear them laugh. And it would just be more talking. So it was, number one, a long period of time I had to do because there were no laughs coming back. And it was brutal. And I got to say, I was fuming. I was really mad. But I said, if that guy, if there was any... Whatever. I mean, that was not pleasant.
How far into your career?
It was recent. It was this past year.
Oh, it was this past year?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, it was not good. I was not happy with it. Because that's I'll take a responsibility for a bomb if it's my fault. But, if you set it up for me to fail, then that's not on me. You didn't set it up correctly. So, but my friend is he's a good guy, and he tried. But the guy wasn't trying to hear it. It's like, okay, well, I guess no one will have a good time then, and we'll take your money. I don't know what to tell you. No one will have a good time, and we'll take your money. Is that what you want? We're trying to do this the best way so everybody wins, but you want to do it so everybody loses. I guess everybody will lose then, So.
So that's what you want your comedy show to be, okay?
So, yeah,
everyone has a bad time.
Everyone to lose because you know more. It's guys don't know more. It's always the guys they call you and they go, okay, here's what we're gonna do, dude. We're gonna have an MC, then we're gonna have a band, and then we're gonna have a comic, and then a band, and then a comic, and no one's gonna be sitting down. Everybody's gonna be roaming around and getting cocktails and chatting. What do you think? It's like, are you out of your mind? Do you not know how comedy works? You have to tell them how comedy works. They don't know that you have to. It's not music. You have to sit there. You have to pay attention. Food can't be being served. You can't have any of that. It's got to be focused. Mm-hmm. And if it's a problem, make the comic can do less time, or don't have a comic. That's also an option. It doesn't sound like you want to have a comic. Oh, no. We want to have it. But we also want a band, then somebody who juggles. It's you have to, and then you have to, the person has to be sitting, focused, and paying attention.
Period.
Yeah, period.
All right. Well, Mike Vecchione,
I'm sorry I yelled.
No, this is we worked up to it. You're very, very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
But we crescendoed into it, like the shows. You leave them laughing, leave an applause. So before we get out of here, is there anything else you want the world to know?
No. Buy my album, The Worst Kind of Thoughtful.
The Worst Kind of Thoughtful.
The Worst Kind of Thoughtful, available on iTunes.
Okay.
And if you could follow me on social media at Comic Mike V, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and your podcast.
My podcast is
Come on, Mike.
No Disrespect on the Gas Digital Network, and available on iTunes and also on YouTube. So No Disrespect.
All right, Mike Vecchione, thanks for being on Hot Breath, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Joel.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was great.
You enjoyed it?
Yes, we really, really aired out a lot of things that were inside of me.
Hey, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to do this for comics by comics.
Okay.
All right. Well, maybe the last thing all the comics do on here is they just look into the camera, let them know who you are and why they should listen to Hot Breath.
I'm Mike Vecchione, and you should listen to Hot Breath because we had a very nice conversation about stand-up comedy. So if you're interested in that, you're interested in stand-up comedy, and I'm just one man who's had certain experiences, tune in to Hot Breath. Thank you for having me.
All right. Mike Vecchione, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
And that water's for you, too.
Oh, wow.
That water was for you. Hot Breath. Hot Breath.